Welcome to my channel, everyone. I thank you for coming back. This one is going to be Fruit of Passion number 10. And in Fruit of Passion number 10, as I said last time, I'm going to be talking about the Muslim religion. I am going to be talking about Islam and the beliefs that they have and how they differ with my beliefs as a Christian and the differences between and some of the conflict that people seem to think exists. And this will be the last of the Fruit of Passion series that I do. My next series is going to be on Get a Life. And the first one is going to be, as I've talked to many times about, the equality of women in the society. And so we can look forward to that one if you'll come back for first series of Get a Life series. Will be on the equality of women and the difference that will make. Now, when I scheduled to do the Fruit of Passion number 10, I thought there was going to be significant changes that I had to make in my thinking to accommodate the differences that people seem to have in the different religions. And after I did Fruit of Passion number 8, before I did number 9, I did start looking into and studied and listened to comments about the Islamic religion and what people thought and how they got those thoughts. And I thought that I would have to make a lot of modifications about my thinking in the past to accommodate this new information I was getting. I was absolutely shocked when I realized there is nothing that I have to change at all in my thinking. What I have to do is reiterate some of the metaphors that I'm using and how it actually explains everything exactly like it is, and why people have misunderstandings, have made errors in their judgment. And I hope that I can cover most of these in 20 minutes, but this 20 minutes is pretty much a review of all of my other 30 videos that I put on, talking about humanity and how we got to where we are and why we think and do the things we do. So what I'm going to be doing now is pretty much a review of all my 30 videos and emphasize the differences in each of the different sections. Now I'm going to start with religion. As I said before, religion is our thinking. We have a right to think anything we want to. Now, not only a right, we were designed by God to be able to do that. Other animals cannot do what Homo sapiens can do. Homo sapiens can project and picture things in their mind that have never existed and may never exist. But you can fantasize about any number of things. And the reason that we know that is very prominent is that all you have to do is look at fiction books that have been produced throughout the history of the writing of human beings, and you will see there are many, many stories that have some reference to kind of things that did happen, but the story is embellishing things that have never happened and never existed. But it makes a good story, and people love reading them because they draw their attention to them and make them think and have emotional feelings about the different things the stories tell them. You have to remember, I'm over 80 years old. I am 86 years old now, and that's only been within the last 3 years that I started watching the YouTube channels on Religion for Breakfast and The Naked Archaeologist that got me interested in this kind of thing. And it was the excavation that Dr. Mayer has been doing for many, many years in Israel about the town of the Philistines that got me interested in watching what happened about the Philistine people. And as I said in my other videos, the Philistine people had a nation that was the number one nation on the planet for 8,000 years. And they got along with everyone. And the reason they got along with everyone is the Amazon women they joined up with to start their society were treated absolutely equal in the society. They were not second-class citizens. They were not substandard. They contributed as much as everyone else. Now, that was a shock to me because I was married for over 50 years to my childhood sweetheart, who is the beginning of my sex life, and I lived a very fruitful and happy life with her. And she was an unusual woman because she had twice the IQ I did. And I was taught and met her in a church that taught that men needed to be the head of the household. Now, that's not that unusual because Muhammad had the same idea about women. But what you're going to find out is, as I go on, I'm going to show there's a difference between that thinking, our religious thinking, the thinking that we have available to us, that any human being, Homo sapien, can think anything they want to, but they don't believe everything they think. They have some beliefs in some things, other things they reject as fantasy or not a good idea. Now, having good ideas and bad ideas are things that we developed in our time here on earth and the history of our forefathers by finding out some things we did worked better than other things and some things did not work. So we invented an idea of truth. And the truth is defined as something that actually happened. Not make-believe, not in your thoughts. It's something that is history. It has gone on. It is a fact of life because people have already done it. It is behind them. And as I've said before, once your actions are performed, you cannot go back and undo those actions. It is now a part of history. Now, the difference is there are different rules for what we would call government. Government is more than one Homo sapien living by himself. Now, we know Homo sapiens can't live by themselves because if you do, within one generation, you will not exist any longer. There is one thing that is absolutely true. Men are just as important as women, and women are just as important as men. You take either one of them out of the equation. You take women away from men, and men will not now be able to have sex with women. If we do not have sex with women, we will not have children. In one generation, when that woman dies and the male dies, there will be no more Homo sapiens in the planet. They will be all gone. So it is imperative for Homo sapiens to exist, for men and women continuing to have a relationship together. But that is not a spiritual thing, that is a government thing. And the rules for government are different than the spiritual rules. In the spiritual rules, in believing in God, we can think anything that we want to think. But what we conclude is true about our thinking. And our truth is not only history. We fantasize about what would be true if we continued going forward and experienced it. But that doesn't make it true. And therefore, when we talk about religion, there is some things in religion that has to be explained as irrational. Now, irrational doesn't mean it's a lie. It just means you can't prove it. And if you can't prove it in a religious setting, we as religious people say we accept it by faith. We have faith that it is true. Now, is everything we have faith about going to be true? No. Homo sapiens probably think everything. And there's a lot of people that think things that aren't true. And one of them is very important to understand concerning the Islamic people. And one of the major ones is there was a gentleman by the name of Karl Marx. And Karl Marx looked at the United States of America. And he said, the capitalism the United States of America has is a curse on the government people of the world. It is stealing the work of the working class and giving it to the upper class people. Now, this was an idea of Karl Marx, and it ended up coming Marxism. Now, Marxism is not a religion, it is a false belief. And it is Marxism because you can take socialism or communism and you can portray it any way you want to portray it. And if it were 10 times, 20 times, 50 times better than capitalism, it would not be worth it. And the reason I say that, history tells us so. In order for Karl Marx to make capitalism to be a second-class government and to promote socialism or communism to be a class above capitalism, cost humanity a minimum of 20 million lives. And the number is on the bottom side. Most people say there were at least 100 million people terminated their life as a result of the USSR promoting communism and socialism. So that shows America had it right. Well, why did America have it right? Because Karl Marx took one thing out of the equation that made everything he said a lie. And that one equation was competition. Now, I have already expressed that in my talk about Muslim people, I was glad there was competition because I'm aware of the Sunnis and I'm aware of the Shias. They do not get along. They're competing with each other. They're both in the Islamic race, but they're far enough apart that I won't even say they're like the denominations of Christianity. Although some denominations now that are included in Christianity are the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. And when you include the Mormons, now you're getting closer to the difference in the Islamic people between the Shias and the Sunnis. And that is because Muhammad primarily came to the Arabs. And the Shias are not Arabic people. Now, the thing that shocks me about them is, as I said before, one of the greatest men that ever lived was Cyrus the Great. And he was the forefather of the Iranian people. The Iranian people are not Arabs. The Iraqi people are Arabs. But Iraq and Iran don't get along because they're different nationalities. We have to learn to love each other. We have to accept that government is different and government plays a different role. And I was fortunate enough to have gentlemen who is George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and the other inventors of the United States of America separated government from religion. They're two different studies. They're not the same. They don't have the same characteristics. They don't have the same purpose. And as I told you before, I went for more than 10 years believing that I was called to be a religious person. And God told me from day one, I don't want you to be a preacher or a teacher. And what I realize now by studying the Islamic race, that what God wanted me to do by teaching me how to fix broken things, and I look at the life I had with my wife, who I considered till the day she died as being a second-class citizen to me, and I am sorry for that now, but I cannot go back and change it. That horse has come out of the barn, and once you complete an action, you can't go back and unchange it. Now, I was wrong, and I've admitted in my videos, I realize that. But it was the Philistines and their relationship with the Amazon women and the fact that they didn't have any wars going on that made me realize that government is different than religion. And therefore, I appreciate now much greater the sacrifice the founding fathers of the United States of America did for the world. And all the world has to do is wake up and say, how did the United States of America become so powerful in such a short period of time? They are more powerful now, way more powerful than the Roman Empire was, and the Roman Empire lasted for 1,000 years, and they never got as powerful as the United States of America. And there is a reason. The United States of America says politically, every Homo sapien is equal to every other Homo sapien. We don't have dictators. Dictators are an abnormal situation. That's what the Roman Empire had. That's what we've had since the murder and mayhem years have started 3,000 years ago. And that is what created religion as well. So now I know why God allowed the Philistines to be wiped off the face of the earth, because even though they were the first creators, now why is creation important? All we have to do is look at our Bible. You open up the Bible, and the Jewish and Christian people, they call theirs the Torah. All you have to do is read the first verse, and it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And when he created Homo sapiens, like God, as I said before, we are creators. But by creating, we have made up rules. And there are rules that we call right and wrong. And things that work, we call right. Things that don't work, we call wrong. Now, we know for a fact that what Karl Marx presented was a lie. It did not work. And only because the competition was taken out, and that is one of the major characteristics of Homo sapiens. As I said before, when God created males, he created horsepower engines. And we've had the Olympics for the last 3,000 years so men could prove they could beat other men. But there is a difference between being a creator. Because if you just look at what the opposite of that would be a destroyer. So destroyers are opposite than creators. So if God is a creator, the opposite of God would be a destroyer. So that is why I blame the United Nations for making it illegal for one human being to kill another. But the reason they're not able to do that is because of the political misconception of a lot of Homo sapiens. And what do I say about the political misconception? The political misconception is there are rules in the universe. And one of them I pointed out is gravity. Does it mean gravity is 100%? No, you can always do things that overcome other things. Does it mean everything can be overcome? Well, as far as we know now, the death of Homo sapiens cannot be overcome. We are going to live a life that is called our human life, and every single human, male or female, are going to die. And that is one of the reasons that we enjoy religion, because religion allows us to have a belief in God where we know that in a spiritual world we're going to live forever. We are never going to come to an end. But our physical life will always come to an end. No matter how well we do, no matter how long we live, there will be an end to it. And other people will still be alive when we're gone. Now, does that make a little bit of a fallacy in some people's thinking? Yes, because many years in my religious life, I thought there was going to be an end to humanity completely. And I can understand how I had that thinking, because there is the concept that we are going to die, and having the character we do, as having Homo sapiens with a horsepower engine, it is hard to adjust our thinking to think that that has to happen. It is not something we like, it's not something we want to look forward to, and it's not something we want to happen. But it is also the thing that makes me know it's wrong for one human being to kill another human being unless it's in self-defense. Now, that being said, I am now coming up against one of the lies that some of the people that think they're Islamic, I hate to tell you this and hate to be the bearer of bad tidings to you, but you have made a mistake. And your mistake is not new. You did not invent the mistake, and it's not altogether your fault. It's a very minor miscalculation on your fault. It is no different than Karl Marx made when he came up with the idea of capitalism being second class and socialism and communism being superior, because he overlooked one thing called competition. Now, that means that there is a difference, as I said, between government and religion. And as we know, Mohammed is called to be a messenger of God, Allah. Now, I use the name God or Allah, they're exactly the same name. It's under the theory a rose by any other name is still a rose. And so it doesn't make a difference if you call him Allah, if you call him God, or you call him Yahweh. When you worship God, you worship Allah, you worship God. There's only one God. Now, does that mean everyone only worships one God? No. Muhammad knew the answer. The greatest mistake Homo sapiens are going to make, and many of them make it, is they worship multiple gods, more than one God. That is an absolute no. And as a Christian, I worship Allah, the one God, no other God but Allah. And are there people that proclaim to be Islamic that worship more than one God? Absolutely. Just as much as there are Marxists who are against what we call government entities, there are people that are called Mohammedists, and they are worshiping Mohammed as a god. Mohammed was a warlord, so in Mohammed's information that he left to his followers who were Islamic, he did not only leave religious teachings. He did leave religious teachings. His religious teachings are true. He did not know about government. And how do I know that? I read the Quran. He has women as only being half the value of men. And he has that because men are more powerful than women. Now, I know that is all true. I have the advantage of living more than 1,000 years later than Muhammad and after the United States of America was formed. And that means my forefathers have told me there's a difference between government and religion. So the things that Muhammad taught you about religion are Islamic. Things that he taught you about government are mistaken. They are things that need to be ignored, and we know that because if you do not ignore them, you make Muhammad a liar, because you cannot have God being a creator and a destroyer. That is absolutely inconsistent with everything. God is not a destroyer. God is only a creator. And I will be talking about some of those mistakes that you make, and what competition is going to do is, I have already stated this, the horsepower engine was given what he was given by God to make sure he overcomes everything that's going to eliminate Homo sapiens from the face of the universe. So we are going to survive because he made every one of us. So we're going to survive. And not only are we going to survive, we're going to protect a woman so she survives with us, so that we have more children, that the Homo sapiens will continue living and multiplying. Every Islamic person in the world, if you're Islamic, you have to look twice at your religion and say, have I made a mistake? Am I confusing the political teachings of Muhammad and believing them as spiritual? And if I have denied what Muhammad told me to do. Only serve Allah. Don't make Muhammad a god. Muhammad didn't pretend to be a god. Muhammad knew he was human. That are actually Mohammedists have to readjust their thinking and differentiate between spiritual decisions and political decisions. With that, I'm going to close up Fruit of Passion number 10, and I look forward to having you come back when I start my new series on Get a Life. And for now, I'm ending Fruit of Passion number 10. Thank you for coming. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and tell other people about me. And let's move forward and do what we can to be creators in the universe and stop our destruction. And for now, goodbye.